Jeez. Oops. Okay. I'm gonna leave it. I gotta plug in. Okay, I think we're good.
Is that your live stream?
That was the previous live stream.
Are we sure we're live?
It says that we're live.
Because no one's watching you.
I know. I know no one's watching yet because I have to share the new link because the other one messed up. It is what it is. Technical difficulties, but we're getting it. Okay. All I gotta do is, oh, you can hold that. All right. Holy wow. What a trip getting online today.
Is this being recorded?
This is being recorded.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean, uh-oh?
So watch what I say.
You should watch what you say. Okay, let's see. Let me go back to... I just gotta, where is YouTube Studio? There we go. I just need to fix this one. So that one we're gonna delete because that was the one that it kicked me off of. Yeah. More actions. We're gonna just delete that one. It's okay. I understand that's being deleted forever. All right, and now we are live. So let me see here. Options. Shareable link. Link copied to clipboard. Now I can send it. Hey, who is that? I just saw somebody comment on it. All right, let me go back. I'm just gonna share this link so that everybody can follow along and join us because our first link is no longer working. So it is what it is. Oh, save that. I only shared it in 2 places, so I just need a second to send this one.
Oh, it's okay. We'll wait on you. We'll wait.
All right, so who do we have here? So I can actually pull up the video here so that we can see all of the comments.
You need a producer. That's what you need.
I do need a producer. You want to be my producer?
Was that supposed to be my job?
No, it
I've
wasn't.
just been sitting here.
Yeah, you actually haven't been very helpful today. Just saying.
Sorry.
You know what though? You got me caffeine. That's a good start.
For free.
For free. Oh yeah. We had a reward something or other. Hey besties. Hey. I have a very messy studio. Don't look at all of my things. I wasn't quite expecting it to show everything, so it's okay. All right, so Vicky's here. Belinda is here. Can you see the screen from here?
I can't read anything on there now.
No? All right.
It's like 6 feet away from me.
It's not 6 feet away. You still have some of your coffee left?
Yeah.
That's good.
I have backups.
What happened to my desk? What did you get on my... Never mind.
That's you.
No, this is
tape.
That's not tape.
It's
I don't know what that is.
Probably from, it looks like it's burned from a soldering iron.
Okay, that might have been me. Maybe.
It wasn't me.
I brought tea. I hope everybody has a drink of their choice because we're going to get into some pretty deep context here today. No, there is literally nothing else in my tea. It is just tea. I got tired of drinking sodas all the time, so I made some tea from home. So, what are you shaking your head for?
Oh, you saw that.
Yeah, I can see you on the screen in front of
And
it.
it's delayed.
It is a little bit delayed. But the little screen up there is not delayed. Just that one. But I did that one so that we could see the comments. So.
You should do Control Plus on your keyboard to make the text bigger on your browser.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, see?
Look, now we can really see the comments. Holy wow.
I'm a genius, right?
You know, sometimes you surprise me still.
Mm.
Sometimes, just sometimes. You can slide over this way a little bit.
Okay.
You can be close to me. It's okay. Here, you can move this. I made this. Look. I made this. Hey, Dominic's on. Hey, besties. Hey. I am so excited. Dominic is going to have me and Ash custom make a suit for him because he is the, what are we calling it? We're not calling it, I mean, you're not a maid of honor. What would be the...
A man of honor?
Are you the...
I don't know.
I know there's a word for... Oh, you're the flower girl. Okay. Okay,
Oh.
Dom. I see you. I see you. I love it. Yeah, no, he's going to be in a wedding. So actually, you are dressing in flowers because the colors and the it's a floral print that we've been talking about with specific colors that we're going to do this whole fancy thing. So.
Okay.
All right. I have my drink. Do you have your drink?
I have a drink.
All right. Well, learning something new every day. I did not know that you could I did not know that that was a shortcut.
Oh, yeah.
We were having some technical difficulties. YouTube kicked me off of my phone twice while we were recording, and we're waiting for a buddy of Neil's and mine, because Derek's my friend too. He's going to be passing on some of his old podcast stuff to me so that this will be a much easier process here soon. We're gonna figure that out soon. So, because we're gonna do this a lot, right?
Every week.
Every week, at least once a week, whether we're physically together or not, because I do travel a lot. Neil is not planning at this moment to go to Orlando. Womp womp. Yeah, we'll see.
Vegas was enough.
Vegas was a lot.
Yeah.
Vegas was a lot. I will give you that. Speaking of Orlando, oh my gosh, we are 3 weeks away from, actually just less than 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away from yesterday. 3 weeks yesterday.
3 weeks away as of yesterday.
Yeah, that. From classes starting. It's going to be amazing. Wait, today's Friday.
Mm-hmm.
No, classes start 3 weeks from today. Early check-in is 3 weeks from yesterday.
You did all that math for nothing.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's 3 weeks.
I can math pretty well. I just forget what day it is sometimes. Today is Friday. We start classes in Orlando 3 weeks from today. But I'm really, really excited for our Monster masquerade party.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's Halloween time, so instead of just doing a plain masquerade meet and greet, we are going to do a monster masquerade.
Okay.
I have my mask picked out already. It's actually, do you remember our neighbor, Laura, with the two, never mind. One of my students, it was a neighbor,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
You remember Avery was taking sewing classes.
Mm-hmm.
Love Avery to pieces. You go, girl. I have seen the stuff that you've been doing. She is what, 12 now? Maybe 13? I forget, Laura, if you're saying this. Avery, if you're saying this, I'm so sorry. But I think she's 12 or 13. You should see. I will post a link in the description of this so that you guys can see it later. But she is hand felting and hand painting these beautiful animal masks, and so I am looking at one of them specifically for my monster mask, and I will get to be, I think, a cat.
Okay.
It's really cute. I was gonna get you the wolf one, but I was also gonna get the wolf one for Michael. But you're not going.
No.
Maybe Halloween. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, so today we're talking about, do you remember?
Business.
Oh, geez.
Business topics.
Challenges. Challenges of starting and running a craft-based business. I have a little bit of experience. You have a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay, I want to take it way back. Okay, when Neil and I first moved in together, I brought out my sewing machine. We were 22 at the time. Yeah, we were 22 at the time, and we moved into an apartment together, and I pulled all of my stuff out of storage, and I pulled my sewing machine out, and the way that he looked at me was like, you were confused.
I didn't take you as a person to sew things.
What does a person that sews things look like?
A grandma? That was my mindset.
He literally asked me, I thought only old people sewed. Sir, I am 22 years old. I have been sewing since I was like 11. But anyway, so I started making things for my daughter, our daughter, around little things around the house. I made her curtains. I made her Halloween costumes. I did like little robes and pajama sets and whatnot. And he is kind of like on board, right? So we moved into our first house after that, and a neighbor across the street of mine saw some of the stuff that I was making, and she's the one who talked me into starting an Etsy shop. Well, actually, so first she brought me in, so she used to take things from like different stores and whatnot, and decorate them. So like she would take the little booties and bling them out and whatnot, and she'd sell it at the swap meet. So originally she started buying peasant dresses and pillowcase dresses from me to take and resell at the
It was a glorified flea market.
swap meet.
Yeah.
It was a swap meet. But anyway, so she's the first one who talked me into starting an Etsy shop, and oh man, I had no idea what I was doing. That was back in 2011. So Etsy had only been around for what, 2 years at that point, maybe?
I don't know.
Maybe. And
that was the first I heard of it. So.
And my thought process, right? So with the way that I grew up and everything, and the way that I saw things, listen, it took me a long time to learn that I am not my target market. My idea was that I wanted to be out there for everyone. Everybody deserved to be able to afford handmade items. Hey, Melissa. So it took me a long time to learn that my target market was not my target market. It took me a long time to learn that my competition was not Walmart. So going all the way back to starting the boutique, what do you think, or what's the first thing that comes to mind as the first challenge of getting that started? What do you remember? Do you remember anything?
I remember nothing.
Do you remember what you had for breakfast this morning?
Half of a muffin and a croissant and lots of coffee.
Why only half a muffin and a croissant? Why not just the whole muffin?
It's too much.
You're getting off topic.
Anyway, I don't know. I mean, you had to figure out where to sell the stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you wanted to make. I mean, it was kind of dictated to you at first that she wanted you to make pillowcase dresses, right?
She asked for something very specific. You know, that's not what I first started selling on Etsy.
No?
Mm-mm. You know, what did I start with? So I started with the it was the bow holders. I made the bow holders and I put them up on Etsy, and pillowcases.
Yeah.
So simple, plain, basic pillowcases. Like, and let me tell you, I thought I was the shit. I mean, my video was marked for not for kids, just FYI.
Okay.
We still want to try to be nice because I don't want my video taken down either.
I think that was one of the things that you had to learn pretty early on, that when you're figuring out what you want to craft, you have to think about what's available in the mass market, what's available at Walmart and Target, and what differentiates what you're doing from what's there. And if there's not a whole heck of a lot of difference, then you're probably not going to sell a lot of it. So
yeah,
and that was something you had to learn pretty early on, especially because trying to price things, you're competing with Walmart at that point.
Yeah.
And then because you're doing it by hand yourself, you're losing money if you do that. So even if you do sell a lot, you're just going to lose more money. So that was probably the first hard lesson that you had to figure out.
Well, that and pricing.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to compete with the same things that you found in the stores, right? I was going into, at the time, again, I had no clue what I was doing as far as selling handmade stuff, right? So I remember very specifically going into the stores and finding blank kids t-shirts, cutting the bottom half of them off, and just adding a skirt. Now, mind you, this was a woven material because at the time I did not work with knit. This was 13 years ago. Almost exactly. We're coming up on my anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 years. This is I want to say this is the longest thing that I've done, like, continuously.
As a job or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a job, as a really anything. Well, okay, so that's like almost half my life.
Yeah, sure.
I said almost. Hey, it's almost half your life too.
10 years ago, maybe.
Well, 10 years ago, it wouldn't have been 13 years either.
Exactly. Anyway,
finding the right pricing. So I remember specifically a huge conversation we had at the very beginning too it was always pricing, right? So I didn't understand how to price my items because I don't think I realized that having the skill to make all of the things that I made deserved a pay, or at least the pay that it deserved at the time. So I was taking into account, okay, well, these things are costing me this much to make, and I'll charge an extra $5 so that I get to go buy more, right? But also at the same time, you were buying all of the stuff to start with, so I didn't really see that in the first place. So it didn't. I think we've talked about this. I agree that it was a disservice to me in the beginning, to both of us, that you provided, which don't get me wrong, I'm super thankful for, but you provided all of the materials, all of the machines, all of the supplies. You foot the bill for all of it to start with. That came out of our family budget. It came out of our household income and everything. And I didn't have, I don't want to say I didn't have access to it, but I wasn't involved in it. So I don't think that I really took into account the real cost of putting all of those things together, the materials especially. But I also didn't price my time. I just didn't because I don't know. I think. Why do you think I didn't price my time?
Well, I don't think when you started this, especially, you really didn't have a business background, an idea of what the microeconomics of a business look like, what a P&L or your balance sheet are. Like these
Yeah.
were foreign concepts, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Now you're getting it, right?
I've grown up.
Hopefully a little bit now that you're doing your books. But
I grew up a little bit.
those things, if you have an investor or whatever, some sort of outside money coming into it, you have to track those things. Otherwise, you have no idea if you're being profitable or not because the money just comes in.
Right.
You know, like a tech startup company, you see that all the time. They're just burning through cash.
Right.
But you have to have someone there at least, whether it's you or your partner or your spouse, whoever, that can say, hey, let's look at how profitable this month was or this quarter.
Yeah.
And say it's okay that you're not profitable because we're investing in these things, but we have to have a vision for where the profit's going to come from in the future at least.
Right.
So,
and I'm going to jump in real quick because I now know the difference between profit and loss versus cash flow.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say two totally different concepts, but they're two totally different concepts. And for someone with a brain like mine, hi, I'm the chaos. I am not the order here. For someone with my brain, I see the cash flow more so, and I think of this has been a really hard habit to get out of. I see the cash flow and I think, oh, we're making a lot of money. Not necessarily, because there's a lot of, I have a love-hate relationship with the saying, you gotta have money and spend money to make money, right? You see all of those things come up in the forefront, and once they're spent, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, right? So the money comes back in to pay for those things, but you forgot that they're there, and you just see the money coming in and you think, oh, we're doing really great. But if it doesn't balance out, that's the main difference between the cash flow and the profit and loss, right?
Yeah, and it goes the other way too, because you can be really strapped for cash because, for instance, like in Vegas, when we did the event, we invested a lot of money into all the Juki machines and the sewing machines and the sergers. Tens of thousands of dollars went into that, which if you look at it,
more than that,
you're struggling, but maybe the event itself was profitable,
right?
Even though your cash flow was negative for the event because you invested so much into it. But those things will be usable for years.
In asset inventory.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that was I think that was a really hard lesson for me to learn too, was the difference in inventory values, right? Not just what you spent, but what is it actually valued at once you spend it. And I saw a huge difference in that when I started buying into the custom fabrics.
Yep. On that subject,
you know what?
What is your current inventory of fabric?
You mean the like the retail side? You mean the like the vinyls that you saw walking in? We took inventory. I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. I mean, I know the value of what's in there.
A lot. But that's another thing you have to take into account when you're looking at profit and loss. If you're making something with fabric or whatever, and all you say is, oh, well, this piece takes a yard of fabric and 3 zippers or whatever. The zipper's okay, but the fabric, you have to think, don't just think about what 1 yard costs you, because you're going to have waste, right? But on the other, the bigger thing actually is that you're going to be buying fabric that you may end up never using, right?
Yeah.
So your fabric costs are probably going to be double or triple, depending on how careful you are with your purchasing, than what you're actually putting into the end product.
Yeah.
So That
You know-
you have to think about that when you price something.
You know, I have a calculator for that now. It takes all of that into account.
Yeah.
I'll have to put one together so that I can share it. I'll put it up on the website. Yeah, I made a calculator in an Excel spreadsheet so that I had to do it for my classes. And I will touch on this. Running the boutique has been very different than running the classes. I'll get into that later, but for the classes specifically, I had to come up with a way to say, I've never made this pattern before. Okay, so I've got, what did we do this last weekend? Oh, we did the Aries, this one. We did the Aries this last weekend. Oh, shout out to Shannon. She's amazing. I love her patterns. They're absolutely beautiful. So I had only made the Aries previously once, and it was at the Wizardry Retreat. Was it last year? Year before? I don't remember. My days run together. But I had an idea, like I know how it comes together. I've made it before. That kind of stuff sticks in my brain. What I didn't know was I didn't know how much fabric or hardware or anything it was going to take to make each one. So I ended up building a spreadsheet that all I had to do was open up the pattern, look at the fabric requirements, plug in all of those numbers. I know my costs for each of those things, and boom, it gave me, well, the way that I set it up, I say boom, but the way that I set it up, it accounted for all of the material costs, the cost of the pattern, the cost of running the class, so my overhead costs for my classrooms, the machines, because I provide everything in all of my classes, but it also accounted for my time teaching, so which again was a hard thing to price out because in the beginning it was a hard thing to price out because I didn't really value my time the way that I should have been, but I've fixed it now. I think I've fixed it now. I'm doing better. But so the spreadsheet, I set it all up so that I know, if we're going to take 6 hours to make this class, I just plug in the 6 hours. It's at this rate. It takes this long to do. It uses all of these materials at my costs, that I provide everything, the overhead for the machines, the overhead for the classrooms, and boom, I get the number of what that class should be. Now, Melissa in the comments brought up a really good point. It's important to think about whether you can get enough money for what you're making. I sell thousands of embroidery designs, and some of them I can honestly say should be for personal use only. That's a good point, because the same thing with the classes. If I put that whole sheet together and it says that this class should be a $200 or $300 class, you have to think about the market that you're going to. Are students going to pay $200 for that class? Can the market handle what you're making? And if the answer is no, then you should not be making that product or running that class, or you have to be able to account for everything that you're doing, getting paid yourself because your time is valuable, and still being able to provide back into your business, whether it be a classroom or your homemade or crafted items. You have to be able to continue running in addition to actually like putting it out. Did that make sense?
Yeah, one thing you haven't covered yet
Uh-oh.
is the M word.
Wait.
Margin.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you price things out and everything equals out, your business doesn't grow.
Right. Okay, so that being said, there is a spot on my spreadsheet that includes loss. So there's a percentage of loss because every time you cut a pattern out, you always have scraps, right? There's a percentage that goes back into the business. So out of that profit, you can't just account for your materials, your time. You have to account for your overhead. You have to account for money to continue building and running your business as well. That's all in my spreadsheet. I did do that. I'm so proud of me. else? What else am I forgetting?
Well, the other thing is, assuming you're making more than custom items and you're making a stock of things,
Oh yeah.
you have to assume that you're only going to sell a percentage of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So take that into account as well,
Oh yeah.
and that you're
Oh,
probably
that-
going to have to liquidate some of
Okay,
it.
so that brings up another point. I'm gonna jump
Yeah.
in because that brings up another point, and Belinda said it in the comments too. Marketing.
Yeah.
You also have to account for marketing. You have to account for loss. Like Neil said, not every item is gonna sell. In a perfect world, absolutely it would. Is everything going to sell at top dollar? Probably not. So when you're pricing out your items, are you going to price it out at the cost that it's going to take to just cover your materials? No, because what happens in 6 months when that item's no longer selling, or when that item is not selling at that price, you have to now discount that price, and now you're paying somebody else to take it, which does happen sometimes, because sometimes we go a little crazy in how much we make. I used to produce in the masses. We would make hundreds of dresses, and I say we because Neil has actually done that. We sat down one time and we did 86 dresses that night.
For Comic-Con.
Whew, that I didn't even end up getting to sell at.
Didn't end up happening.
Didn't even end up getting to sell. It's a complicated, long story. That's gonna be a whole nother video. That was a trip, man. Yeah, but that's a good point. So you have to also take into account if you're selling your handmade items, you have to take into account the
Booth fees.
The travel costs. How far are you going? How long are you going to be there? Are you accounting for your time that you're sitting at your booth?
Food.
Oh yeah, we like to get food when we're out at festivals. It's good stuff. And I like supporting my other handmade. Okay, so the other problem that I have is every time I go to a market, I never come home empty-handed. Almost never. But like with the Carlsbad Street Fair, for instance, it's the largest Sunday street festival in the nation. It happens twice a year. And some of my favorite small business entrepreneurs are there, and I always come home with the coffee doesn't make it home, but I love the Rush coffee. Fantastic stuff. I get my soaps, my absolute favorite bar of soap from Soap du Jour. What is it called? Skinergy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best. So I literally, that twice a year that we get to go, I will literally stock up and I will bring home like 8 bars. And they're not little bars, they're big bars. But you also have to take that into account. Like, are you going to be shopping at each festival that you get? How many times are you going to go to a festival and run into someone that you just want to support them? And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to take that stuff into account. And that was really hard for me.
That's why you need to pay yourself and put that into the cost.
Also true.
Right.
Also true. What else?
Well, on the note of making a lot of things, producing a lot.
Yeah.
So depending on where you live, if you're in California or New York, right?
I know where this is going.
You may have to do things by yourself because...
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going.
No. I don't know where you thought I was going.
I thought you were going into storage issues. If you're producing a lot, you have to store it somewhere, right?
Yeah, that.
Well, if you're in California, storage space, retail space, storage units, even space in your home, square footage in California is not cheap. And if you are, well, let's just say I ended up getting kicked out of the house with all of my stuff. That's how I ended up in a semi-industrial place to begin. Actually, you can see my first studio through the window. That little building right there is where we started. I get to look at it every day.
You get to look down on it.
I get to look down on it every day. Yeah, that's where I started, literally across the parking lot from us. Space space when you're producing in the masses. Now I do know where you're going. Go ahead.
The legal side of things, right?
Yeah.
Because these are the things you learn as you go along. Like in California, New York, and I think those are the only two states.
Those are the only two.
You're required to have a garment manufacturing license if you produce any those handbags,
any
clothes,
any item.
Yeah, any garment.
No, any item. It doesn't even have to. It is so confusing because it's called a garment manufacturing license. It has nothing to do with garments. It has everything to do with sewing machines and machinery. If you are producing, if you are cutting, if you are sewing, if you are finishing any kind of accessory or garment or bag or anything that you're using machinery to produce, you have to have a garment manufacturing license if you have anybody but yourself or your immediate family involved. So if you are cutting stuff out and sending it to someone to put it together, my friend, that is illegal in the state of California and New York.
Without the license.
Without the licensing.
Is very...
And not only do you have to have it
extensive.
As the person who is selling those, the person that is helping you also has to be licensed. Home-based work in California and New York is illegal. So that presents a problem when you are producing in the masses and you want to grow. You have to make a choice. You have to either go through the process to get those licensing and use licensed businesses, which again, remember, home work is not allowed. It is illegal. So if you have a seamstress that you work with who's either cutting your stuff out or sewing it, putting it together, finishing it, doesn't matter. If it touches any kind of machine, and that includes cutting, it doesn't matter. They also have to carry the license. And in order for them to carry the license, they have to have a separate location outside of their home. It is a deep rabbit hole. And the reason I did not continue the boutique. The main reason that I did not continue the boutique. The only way to get around that is if it is immediate family members. So as long as Neil and I were working on it, or me and Ash, or within our little immediate family, that is legally allowed. Outside of that, it's legally not allowed. And if you are caught without it, and I actually knew someone who was, they will come and confiscate everything related to the business. It's scary.
All the fabric, all the machines.
All the fabric, the machines, the electronics, literally they can seize everything if you're caught in violation of it. Yeah. Claire says, everyone always asks me why I don't open my own business. I'm just going to send them to this YouTube. Mwah. Listen, I am the creative mind. I have all of the big ideas. Neil makes sure that I do all of the legal things.
I'm not a lawyer though.
No, but he sends me to go. He's like, you have to have this license. No, I didn't know that. Oh, you know what else is the other thing is?
Yeah, we haven't gotten into business permits and
that's not even the
permits.
half of it. I found out much later about compliance too. Fabric testing for garment compliance. It's not even just garments. It's toys. It's anything manufactured, anything that you sell as...
Like sleepwear, right, has specific...
Oh, very specific.
Yeah. Very
specific flammability tests. And literally you are supposed to have everything tested. So your fabric, you have to have the certificates for, you have to have the threads, the elastic, the literally everything. When I say that the garment manufacturing license was the main reason, that was not the only reason that I did not continue the boutique stuff. And it became so much that I had no idea when I first started making all of that. And the requirements for children's clothing especially is, and don't get me wrong, it's not that it's not needed, it's just complicated. There are groups on Facebook you can go and check out for compliance stuff, but I think those are the two biggest ones that people don't know about, and it's very confusing to go through that. But I want to say that the garment manufacturing, I think the garment manufacturing is higher on the list of people don't know that. Like they don't understand the how or why behind that. I think they know more about compliance issues because I think it's just more on the forefront because that applies to everyone. But California and New York specifically, they have a lot of labor laws around that garment manufacturing license. It's crazy. It's crazy.
For good reason, though, because it's been abused.
Well, the main reason, I did some research. I mean, I did a lot of research. I went down the rabbit hole. The main reason is labor laws. They're trying to keep from sweatshops and over manufacture. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I think the other thing that smaller businesses, when they're first starting, don't understand, especially because if you're doing crafting, what do you do to sell? You sell on Etsy, and then you probably go to local street fairs.
Yeah.
Right? Well, depending on what city you're going to for the street fair, each one has their own set of laws around what requirements you have to sell.
And taxes.
Right. So you've got your taxes, but then you've got like business licenses. So like if you go for a festival in Irvine or wherever, or Anaheim, you have to have a business license in the city of Anaheim, just if it's even for one day, even for 4 hours.
A single day. Florida is the same, actually.
Yeah.
I learned that this week.
So you have to work with whoever's putting on the event to figure out what you have to do. Usually they'll have information for you.
Yeah.
But it's all those little things that you have to worry about. And then the other big thing is how to set up your business when you first start. Because most people are going to start and they're just going to be sole proprietorship, right? Which is very easy in the US, unlike a lot of other countries, to just start a business. Because you really don't have to do anything except put out a newspaper article and get a business license in the city that you...
As far as getting your names in, yeah.
But that's about it. You don't have to register anything in particular with like the IRS or the federal government. It's all under your own social security number. It's compared to England and some other places. To start a business. And that's the good thing about the US is that anyone can just kind of start their own thing and see how they like it.
DBAs are a little different. It takes a little bit more to get into that, especially depending on where you are. Now, I know a lot about California because I've done this a few times. A few times. Listen, I did 3 DBAs, right? Only 3? Maybe 4. I did Kylie's Closet. That was the boutique. For those who don't know, I did Simba Savannahs. I bred Savannah cats for almost 11 years. That was a really, like, that was a hefty chapter. We don't do that anymore. I have 1 Savannah left. We did So Bestie. We started as So Oside, sewing classes in Oceanside. And now we are So Bestie, but we did So Bestie as an LLC.
Right.
Yeah.
Which gives you a lot of protection in, areas where especially if you have employees, it's a good idea because any kind of issues that come up with labor laws or employees suing you or anything like that for things like that, suing the business.
Yeah.
If you're a sole proprietorship and you own a car or house, or your spouse owns a car or house and you're married, that could all go away.
Yeah.
If someone, wants to slip and fall in your place of business and sue you.
At what point did you really, so I have a friend who does all the taxes and everything, and I remember her telling me a number of years ago, this was after I started teaching, but he told me if I ever went to LLC instead of a sole prop, there's no way she would ever touch my taxes, which I love you, but that's okay because Neil does it.
There's no difference though. there between
There
the sole
is.
proprietorship and a
There is
Schedule
a
C?
there is a difference in tracking. There's a lot of differences in how you manage your books. Okay, maybe there shouldn't be a lot of differences, but there is. I feel that the sole props are a lot more lax in your reporting, in your tracking, in your
True.
taxes, your Schedule Cs, whereas now this is our first year as an LLC, so we'll see. Ask us again next year after we do our taxes and
From a tax standpoint, it's really the same. It's more so that when you're an LLC, you have to have a separate business account, separate business credit cards. You're supposed to do that with a sole proprietorship too,
yeah.
but it's more so important with an LLC because
Yeah.
if your company happens to get sued or something like that, and there's commingling of funds and things like that, then they can do what's called piercing the corporate veil and go after you.
He's using college words.
Because it looks like you're basically the same thing as your business. So you have to keep things more separate.
Listen, I understand that now more than I did previously. So my question is, at what point did you specifically really want us to go from a sole prop to an LLC? Do you remember?
I think once you have a physical location where you have people coming there, it's a good idea to have it, or once you have employees. But
well, I had employees.
You waited a while.
I did wait a while.
Yeah.
You know, I think
because you like to roll the dice.
We ended up so we ended up moving out into the retail space in 2017. Was it 2017? Yeah, 2017. And then I started the classes in that space. And then we moved to the other unit. And that's where the classes really started to take off. The smaller unit, the one that's in the window back there, that one was, the intention of originally moving out was just to get me and all of my stuff out of our house and give me a separation. Oh, that's another big thing that we haven't even touched on yet. A separation of home and business, which when you're doing a craft business, usually you start a craft-based business, because it's your hobby. And at some point you have to draw a line, or at least see the lines between what is still your hobby and what is your business. And that was one of the biggest changes in moving out of the house was I no longer had access 24/7 to my sewing machines, to my fabric, to everything. We moved everything out of the house, and I literally had to get up, go to work, and the intention of that space was really initially just to give me a space outside of the house to work. Okay, things ended up moving back home for a while, and then we moved to units, and I went from 635 square feet to 1,600 square feet ish.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. 1,500 square feet. It was $14.99. I remember. But then we moved everything out, and do you remember what I said when we moved in there? There's so much space. How are we going to fill all of this space?
You'll find a way.
I'm a goldfish. I grew to my tank, and then we started spilling over. And then we opened the second location in San Diego. And then we ended up moving Oceanside to the units that we're in now. And then I outgrew that and had to get my own office separately from the classrooms. I have 2 classrooms now. They're functional. They're both active. I know it's hard for you to see the difference between work and hobby for me. Yours is easy. Your hobbies are going to the gym and surfing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not what you do for work. It's easy for you. It's easy for you to clock out and be like, I'm done.
I'm still interested in cybersecurity and all that when I'm not on the clock. I don't know. I don't have a clock, okay? I'm always working on something. Manage your life.
I think it's harder for me now because now we have everything separate from the house. Most everything. Ash likes to sew at home, but literally everything I have is here. And so it's hard for me to sew anything at home because I have to prep everything to take home to be able to work on at home. Whereas here it's literally just like, oh, look, there's my snap press behind me, and oh, I've just got this iron and all of these things that, like, if I was at home, it's like, oh, well, this is a stop in my project because I don't have these pieces, they're in my office. And it definitely makes it harder to have my hobby at home. But at the same time, if I am just working on something for me, it's, well, you're working because I'm at the office. Well, I'm not. I'm making something for me, but there's very blurred lines in between the two.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's probably, okay, that's not the hardest thing that I look at right now. We've had some pretty decent challenges this week.
Yep.
Oh, payment systems are interesting. I've gone through a lot of payment providers, actually. You remember Pay Anywhere?
Mm-hmm.
That was the first payment provider I ever used. I decided to go through them instead of Square because at the time, Square did not have inventory capabilities. I've watched a lot of these platforms grow because I've been doing this so long.
I have to say now, if you're starting up your business or have in the last year or so, you could go with Stripe, you could go with Square, you could go with Wix. Like, they all have a lot of good capabilities. So,
as far as payment processing, or you mean website?
well, a lot of them are combined too, which makes things easier. So you should really put a lot of thought into it from a strategic standpoint before you decide which way to go.
Yeah.
And see what capabilities you need and what they already have, and try and get as much of your web, like your commercial website plus your payment provider and everything, all from one vendor, because it's just going to be easier that way.
Oh,
And
I tried to do that. I did try to do that. So I've had Pay Anywhere. I have an active Square. Pay Anywhere. You know why I dropped Pay Anywhere? Do you remember?
They made you mad about something.
Oh, they did make me mad. So when I first started the classes, I had already had Pay Anywhere for 10 years. 8 years. 8 years at that point. And when I started the sewing classes under the same name, I started having larger transactions come in because I was doing like workshops. I was doing a summer camp, and the summer camp was, I had a student that did $600, or not a student. I had 2 students. They siblings did $600. Well, Pay Anywhere held that that payment because it was larger than my average transaction at that point. And when I had called them about it, they ended up trying to tell me that I needed to reapply for a separate account because sewing classes were not part of my original description and therefore were not covered under the same account, even though it was under the same name. Like something along those lines. Like they wanted me to go through the whole process of signing up for a new account and doing new everything, even though at the time everything was under Kylie's Closet.
And you were still,
and it was related. It's all craft related.
Yeah, you were still selling stuff too. So
yeah,
you were adding an additional service.
Yes.
which they
Should
wanted to
have
hold
been
the
the
account.
same.
Yeah.
And they wanted to hold it. So I dropped pay anywhere. Because if I was going to apply for a whole new account, I was going to look for better rates. And what did I end up going with? I ended up,
Square?
at that point, I ended up going with Square.
Yeah.
Because, no, not Square. I ended up going with, I ended up going with Square. I remember I had the PayPal processor. I remember PayPal. I had the PayPal swiper. I had the Square swiper. And I had the Pay Anywhere swiper. I remember those are the three actual swipers that I had. Now I only use Square for in-person. And that was primarily because Wix, who I built my websites through, had an integration with Square that you could use your website inventory and sales, and the connected payment processor was a Square reader. They don't do that now that they've developed their own processing systems, which this week I am not very happy with, but it is what it is.
All the fun.
But yeah, I mean, Square has its own, Square has Squarespace, Shopify. I don't know which card reader Shopify uses, but I'm pretty sure Shopify, most website builders, most payment processors have websites that you can build off of the processing system. Most website hosting systems have either multiple streams of accepting the integrations, so they can accept PayPal or Stripe, or Wix specifically has their own payment processing, their own branded payment processing. It's called Wix Payments. So as most of you know, two weeks ago, right before we did class registrations for Socation Orlando, I split our website into sobestie.com and socations.com. Sister sites, verified everything, put everything through. Long story short, we started accepting registrations for socations.com for Socation Orlando. We started accepting registrations. So all of the payments were coming through. And even though I had already done all of the payment, or the verification process, so uploading all of my tax documents, my personal, ID.
Driver's license.
I actually used my passport, but my government issued ID, my tax documents proving who I was, my bank statements proving that the accounts belonged to me, blah, 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 blah. Everything you have to do to verify who you are, what your business is, and that everything is legit, right? Got it all done, started accepting payments, and they said, oh, this is unusual activity, so we're gonna hold this and we're gonna make you re-verify everything. I found out on this past Monday that that payment processing is currently holding all of our funds from Socation Orlando until I complete a re-verification, which I have been going back and forth with them all week, having to provide, what was it I provided yesterday was screenshots of the payments that I made to the hotel, the contract that proves that we are holding the event at the hotel. What did they wanted my IDs again. And all of my social media channels. They wanted to know where we are advertising, how people find us, where they can find information. Like, literally, I provided 7 different social media links because they wanted my social media links too, so that they could see that this is a legit thing, and currently are holding somewhere around 10 grand of our funds for Socation Orlando. So this week has been very fun. Another challenge of running a craft-based business. We're trying very hard to not bust through a computer screen. I am trying very hard. Mr. Calm Head over here is just like, whatever. It'll happen. It'll happen, right? Right. It'll be fine. Everything will all be mostly okay. That is what's getting me through the day right now.
Well, I think that's
it. Whew, I cannot wait to see everybody in just a couple of weeks. Oh man, if you guys have any questions, anything that I can go through and answer, for suggestions, or if you want any specific links, ask me in the comments. Share this video with all of your friends. It's been a blast. And let us know. Drop it in the comments. What should we talk about next week? What do you think?
Surfing.
Surfing. We don't need to talk about surfing.
I don't know. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out.
We still have to make that bag.
Yes, you do. You still have to make that bag. So Neil is like, oh, where's your? It's in the other room. You can hand me. No, let's leave it a surprise. We're gonna leave it a surprise. Neil is still going to make the what are we calling it? We're calling it Haley's Day Pack. Originally designed by Heather, our so bestie admin. I am in the process. I have all of the pieces digitized. Neil has cut his out. He will be making one this weekend. Maybe. We'll see. I will record it. We're not going to do that one live because it will just take entirely too long and nobody wants to sit through that but me. So I will record. I will edit out the best parts to share with you. And then when it is complete, we will share. That one will get auctioned off. And the proceeds for that, we decided, are going to go to our Humane Society, our local Humane Society. So drop in the comments if you have anything fun for us to talk about next week. Always taking suggestions. So until then, we'll see you later. You can hit the button to stop it.
I can?
You can.
I don't know where it is.
If you, no, just, you have to touch it.
I have to touch what?
No, don't touch the butt.
I don't.
You hit the little buttons on the bottom.
The hamburger?
No, not that one. Move Eric. Eric is on the screen. You see him up in the corner?
Oh.
There you go. Now hit the X.
It is hiding.